Welcome back to your channel. My name is Brad and Supercoach Pro. Today's video we're doing the round 14 Supercoach review. Buys are finished, so that's the main thing out of the buys. Didn't do too bad this week. Actually stuffed up my plans. Overthought the trades, made it a little bit more complex than what it needed to be. You'll see a player in particular that you'll be like, why the hell did you bring him in? Sort of took a little bit of a risk, didn't pay off, burning a trade, and yeah, we'll get stuck in the squad. So, just before I get deep into it, you can see the score there, 18-28. Only lost 89 places, so it was obviously about a par score, I think, for the week. You scored over 2,000, you probably really shot up in the ranks. So we're now into season rank of 1,459, so top 1,500, you'll take that. Cat's in the back, she's doing the video tonight. So, 6 trades to go. Team value is pretty high. Team value probably doesn't matter at this point anymore because you're just using those trades for injury trades, and that's about it. You're not worrying about the rookies that you have for the rest of the season. Then it's going to be players that you keep until the end of the year, and just hopefully you've got some good cover. So, start off in the back line. It's very distracting having a cat do this. So 140 for Dawson. He's actually playing that role of half-back flanker. He took a lot of kickouts there with Brodie Smith today. And his role all depends on whether Mitch Hinge is named. So when Hinge is named, he's actually playing on the wing. But, when he's not, he's actually back there with Smith and all the others as that sort of run and carry. And, yeah, beautiful left foot. Scored 140 today. He was looking like he would almost go 160, 170 by the way he was playing. And, yeah, really happy with that score. Sort of boosted up his season average now to 108 because he's just sort of petering away at about that 100 mark. And, yeah, it's good to see that he has a ceiling game every now and then. Stewart 103, bounced back from the 98 last week, kind of being sarcastic by that comment, to be honest. But, yeah, no, he played all right in the wet there. It was pretty, crappy conditions to be playing footy. But, you thought against Richmond's mids, like, we didn't have Martin playing. We only had Prestia, and he towered them all, really, to be honest. So, yeah, you can expect a lot better from Hewitt going forward, I'd think, anyway. And then Doherty's been the pick of the last 2 weeks. I had a choice over him and Sinclair, and I think Doherty's outscored Sinclair by at least 20, 30 points already in 2 rounds. So, I wasn't too worried about, people saying, oh, Doherty's age and whatnot. I think he's only 28 anyway. So it is what it is. 28's not even that old. I mean, I'm 31 next week, so I'd be a retired footy player by now for sure. And then Jaden Short in the midfield is really hurting his score. So if you got like maybe 6 or 7 trades up your sleeve and sidewaysing him to somebody like a Stewart or even any of the players that are in my squad that you don't have, like a Sis or Crisp, it might be something you do. But, yeah, he's sort of a luxury trade. I would be moving him on. I think Richmond got a pretty good fixture going on. With the last 8 or 9 rounds, whatever's left now, I think it's 8 actually. And then, yeah, the 2 rookies, I'm pretty proud of these guys. Like, Weir came on, did a job. He scored 60-something last week, scored 65 this week. Just been a fantastic rookie downgrade. I avoided the Rory Thompson and new Buku Karmas, whatever his name is, from the Dogs. I avoided those picks and got the rookies down on the back line right, I guess. And then I didn't grab Sam Durnan from Carlton. I actually had a gut feel that he'd go down too, and he did. And being wet, I didn't want to pick him as a rookie. Ambrosios, I'm not sure if that's how you say it. I'm a wog myself, but I'm not Italian, so probably butchered that a bit. But, yeah, he played all right. He had about 14, 15 touches, used it well off half-back. In the VFL the week before, he had 33 touches. Essendon aren't playing finals, so they'd probably give this kid a run. Like, he's only been in that side for 2 weeks from the mid-season draft, and he looks like a really good gem for the Bombers going forward. I mean, you've got 14,000 half-backs, but what's one extra? And then, yeah, obviously, those 2, nothing to talk about there with Crisp and Sistog. I'm looking forward for them coming back this week and having normal weeks. Miller, put the captaincy on Miller. I was going to bring in Laird and Mills, and I overthought this. It's so complex what goes into my brain in Supercoach sometimes that you overthink and risk is reward, and you'll see what I mean in a second. Anyway, Took just sort of cruised by. He could have had a lot better score if he just didn't handle it so much too, and didn't just hack kick it, which he does a fair bit too. So that was a bit annoying. He could use it better. Gold Coast fixtures coming up is not too bad. So yeah, I'm not fast. He's averaging 116, so you take that any day of the week. McRae, I'm pretty annoyed at. I know it sounds stupid because he scored 155, but he burns us, and we can't use him as a VCC option. Then he scores a big, massive score when no one really picks him. I think maybe George or someone would have VC'd him or C'd him, and smart enough to do that. But I just didn't trust him. But it looks like as soon as Dog's midfield out, like a Bailey Smith goes out, McRae steps up. So maybe that's what it is. You chuck the C or VC on McRae when one of the dog-eared boys that's in that midfield rotation gets not named for whatever reasons because they do things that they shouldn't. But that's another story. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not even going to care about that kind of crap. Cripps VC'd. I thought he'd do well in the wet, being a contested player against the Tigers. As I said before, with the Hewitt factor, logic said VC Cripps because he's normally pretty good against Richmond from what I remember anyway. And excuse me, definitely not COVID for sure. But yeah, I was thinking he'd go massive, and he just didn't even turn up. He just had a lot of clangers, holding the ball against Pickett, I think it was too, and then he tries to go Prestia, who's like half his size, and I thought, what an absolute nut. Anyway, Prestia's got 3 medals and Cripps has got nothing, so stuff Cripps. Canelio, 113. Yeah, Prouder held on to him. He's been scoring well. And if you had had a look at the fixture that Giants had coming up, you probably wouldn't have got rid of him. I know he scored 37 that week, but that was Leon Cameron doing Leon Cameron things. Like, Canelio's averaged 100 just about every year he's played, when he got into that midfield role at the Giants. He's just a classy player, so glad I held on to that. And then Tom Green, same thing. Giants fixture looks alright, so he's probably not a bad M8 considering a lot of people have track. Heaney, 124. I'm really, really happy about that because a lot of people jumped off him. They got peer pressured into some potties and some big dogs saying, "Oh, get off Heaney," like they do with every player that has 2 or 3 bad games. And he didn't even have that, so he had 90s there in his system, and people go, "Oh, 53 against the Tigers, get rid of him." And Dylan Grimes did a job on him instead of Loston. So that's whatever. You don't go trading out premiums unless they're injured generally, unless you're me, and trade out Luke Ryan, which makes me a hypocrite. But Luke Ryan's a dud, and he's played alright in the last month. But Dawson over him, I think in the long run will do alright. Bit of a rant. Now, this was the interesting one. It sort of staffed up my plans because the Roses were going to go out. Then I was like, there's Clark. Clark gets named Medi-Sub, and I'm like, man, McGovern or Hearn's going to get injured in this game for sure by trying to take on Hawkins and the likes of Cameron. And then as it was, McGovern got injured, subbed on for Clark, saved me 30 points or something like that, roughly, for Proust. But we'll talk about that in a sec. You probably gone, why is he calling himself Supercoach Pro if he brings in Proust? But I do have a theory about this. And obviously my ruckman didn't play. So now the thought behind Proust was, you can see I've got a bit of money there. I brought Proust in because Flynn was laid out, and I'm like, when Proust plays, when he was in favour with Cameron, he's been tunning up. I'm like, his break even was, I think, 41. It was an hour before the bounce. Flynn gets it omitted. The logical reason would have been just grab English, because I bailed on the Mills pick because the Butters went down. So I needed a forward next week. So I sort of pre-planned the Hawkins move. And I was like, I want a bit of cash too. So I'm like, what's the point of grabbing English, who's got a break even of 112, who's probably going to score the same as Proust. Proust is going to make money, and English is going to have a high break even once that rolling average comes out. English has now a break even of 166. Bruce gets injured. So I was actually trying to get more of a value selection where Bruce meets somewhere in between an English and a wit sort of range, a straight swap for them, but the scores the same throughout, and I save 200k or 250k or whatever it may be. Anyway, didn't work. He gets injured. He was actually traveling all right too, so it wasn't like it was a bad pick. In theory, it kind of made sense. But sometimes you risk it, you overthink of it, you want to get ahead of competition, not too far ahead, you don't play it safe. Into the round preview, I was like, Mills and Laird, that's what I'll do. Then Butters goes down, I'm like, now I need to find a forward. So that's why my plan's stuffed up, but we'll go into my trades after I reviewed the team, and I can still grab one or two of those players and grab in English. Obviously, I got no boost, but Dunkley 114, a bit of a ramble, a bit of a longer video tonight too, because I did watch more games than normal. For a change, the Tigers are back up, so it makes you want to watch more games when your team's actually winning. 135 from Parker. Yeah, I didn't see that coming. He hasn't had a big score in a while. He's same price roughly as a Bont, maybe a little bit cheaper. So I can't grab Bont this year, and I'm just going to skip since I heard him have that shoulder problem. I just don't want any more injury-prone players. I'm already running a player like Darcy who gets a niggle every second game and scores 50 to 130. So I just don't want anything to do with Bont this year. And Butters, like, you know, he scored 68, but he was on 68 and he was best on ground midway through the second quarter, I think it was. He was on 68, so he was tracking for like a 130 game, and I thought, you beauty, people jumped off Butters. I'm going to get a good score from him, and yeah, it just gets injured for you. Like, he played 28 minutes for 68 Supercoach points. That's crazy. That is absolute insane. So, you know, that's when you trade a primo, is when they actually get injured. So he's done an MCL, which is, my belief is about a 6-week injury, and there's 8 rounds to go, so there's no point holding Butters. So that's why I grabbed Hawkins, because I needed to play around the same price. And Hawkins was playing West Coast, his key forward, and we'll sort of segue into that. Him and Cameron had so many chances, sprayed it, didn't look great at different stages. Just got outmarked by Barras there as well. Barras was playing on Hawkins. McGovern sort of took Cameron, but Cameron came up the field. I didn't want to pay an extra 50k for a guy like Cameron who has more hammy problems than you can even think of. And the fact that Hawkins has a lot of tap outs in the rucks in the forward line sort of boosts his floor a little bit, although they're averaging the same. So the other reason I brought in Hawkins for the Butters move in preempting next week's trades, which being this week, is Robbie Tarrant from Richmond and Bolter went down on the Thursday night. So I kind of thought, well, they've got Richmond this week coming. We've got no big unit to take Hawkins on. He's probably going to go 130, 140 because we've got athletic tools to go with your Cameron type. Like, we've got Broad, Grimes and Vossen that can all go to a Jeremy Cameron and play up the field, but we don't got a good key defender who can take a big unit like Harry Mackay and players like that. So I think this is a preempt move. He's in 4% of size. He's got a good fixture coming up too, and I just like the look of him. You know, he's scored pretty well lately. He probably doesn't have the ceiling as a Jeremy Cameron. He's still got a 148 there. But he's got Richmond, North, then he's got Melbourne, Carlton, Port, and then his last couple games, he's got St Kilda, Gold Coast, and West Coast. So for my grand final, when you're playing Supercoach, I really want him to go massive against West Coast, and hopefully by then they're sort of tanking for bottom spot, and you know he kicks 6 goals because it could have been a big day out. But I think Geelong just didn't show up because they thought it would be in the bag, and West Coast came out to fight and played actually a really good game. Hamilton, bit spewing in the VFL. He scored Dream Team. It was like 58 points or something. So he had 14 disposals. He doesn't look like he'll be coming back anytime soon. By the looks of it, he's out of favour with the new coach. Carroll, I think, had 29 touches in the VFL. So he might be a close call, but I still just don't think he gets a game until later on in the season when Carlton just missed the 8. Nah, just kidding. Hopefully Owens comes back too. For those who held, if you still don't have an M8, I probably don't know what you're doing. You've probably been sidewaysing primos too much. And then, Teakle 30, a bit disappointing. He was actually doing all right too. If you look points per minute, it was actually not bad. 40-minute game time. So what's that? A quarter and a bit, and scored 30 points playing the ruck. You just can't predict injuries, and that's the problem with Bruce and Teakle. Like, I may have lost, 50 or 60, maybe 80 ranking points or whatever it was in the overall rankings, but because I had a good buy 1 and 2, it didn't really affect my score too bad, so I wasn't really worried. I was just like, well, I've wasted a trade on Bruce. So, yeah, what I'm going to do going forward is interesting. So I'll sort of do a 2-in-1 here with my trade plans, what I'm thinking. So to make it easy for yourself, just optimize your team. You'll put all your premiums back on there. Doesn't even think Darcy's a premium at this stage, which is fair enough, whatever. So what we will do now, if you're in the same sort of situation, I mean, a lot of coaches do have Bruce. I can do one or two things. So I can get rid of Bruce if it's a long-term injury. Let's say half the season from what we've got. So if it's 4 weeks, logically I'll probably just grab Timmy English and then trade out Butters, swing Heaney forward, and then grab Rory Laird. I think I like him over Mills, just purely based on fixture. Then I have 251k in the bank. Now, by doing this, it gives me cover for Sean Darcy, so I actually save a trade if Darcy misses a week or two. Because what I effectively do is just swing him there. Sorry, stupid internet always likes to do things like this, like as if I want to trade Sean Darcy right now. Unless he's somehow injured during training during the week, which I hope I didn't jinx that. But you just never know, because there's some freaky injuries during the week too. Sort of like Supercoach vibes when you bring in a player and then they injure himself during training. Like that's how English did it. So by bringing in English, what it does mean is I am playing cogs in the midfield, which you do give up a little bit of points, but the fixture's not bad, so it's just like a weak M8 position, I guess. Laird's an extra captain option, so is English there. But the other thing, by bringing English in, means I can actually send English to the bench, not that you'd do that. Bring him for Teakle. I don't know if I made this more complex than I needed to, just so you can see this. English to the forward line to cover, and DeGoey becomes my link as my emergency. So, Greg Clark, Owens, probably my emergency in the midfield. My defense emergencies are not too bad. And then I've got DeGoey as my swing. And it means if Darcy or Cameron or English does miss out, I can just field DeGoey for the rest of the season and just keep him there, because the last 4 trades are purely going to be injury. And on top of that too, if I wanted to be really sneaky, what I'd do next week, if I really wanted to run myself out of trades, not that I would effectively want to do that, I've still got 506k to bring in. Maybe you bring in Track and you have a spare player on the bench like a Heaney and DeGoey, and just rotating him through mid and forward, and keep 3 trades for your Neils, your Olivers, your Lairds, or your backline primos where you don't have any flexibility there because you don't really want rookie cover in general, and I don't got a good premium D7 there. So just a bit of food for thought. And I guess the other thing is too, if I did bring in Mills and Laird, it means I wouldn't have any DPP flexibility there. So it's all horses for courses when you're going through what your trades are. You sort of got to look now for the long term, being what actually helps your side. Like if you run out of trades, who is your rookie cover, or do you have decent bench cover that could really, really help you going forward? And that's why I like the look of English there, because what happens is if I do get rid of Bruce and Butters, and a lot of people, I think Butters is owned by 38% of the competition. So you've got to look at it this way. They're going to be mostly traded out of most people's teams regardless. If Bruce is a 1 or 2, I'll hold him, and I'll just trade out Greg Clark and bring in 2 primos that way. So I'll be waiting on news, and hopefully it's not too serious, because I'd love to still run Bruce. I think he can still average 100. And after that COVID flu, he's back in favour of the coach by the looks of it, by the new coach anyway. But what ends up happening if you actually do, where is it? You bring in Teakle, so you just run in Cameron and Darcy, and then you run Heaney forward, and then you grab 2 mids. So you grab the likes of Mills and Laird, which I'm still tempted to do. Let me know what you guys actually think in the process of this going forward. But it just means like I won't have any way where I can swing a late changing player into my midfield if I needed to cover somebody. It also means if Sean Darcy's missing a week, Teakle's done a collarbone, so I'll have no cover with that English swing. That's why I'm thinking of bringing English in. And the other problem is, by grabbing a Mills and Laird, it looks great on paper, but I've literally got no one to bring him in for, unless Greg Clark is named from here on out with McGovern being out, which says he's probably best 23, hence why he was the emergency sub at the moment. It doesn't look great, so it blocks my DPP flexibility out of the way by grabbing Mills, who, you know, it's really flip of a coin, Laird or Mills, but I just like Laird's fixture, and I would watch Laird today, and if he wasn't so handball happy, he probably would have scored 140. I think he had like 30 of his disposals were handballs, and 12 of them were kicks, something like that anyway. But he was everywhere, and yeah, they've got a really good run going forward, so that's what I'm thinking. I do is actually grab English, and that is like I'm saying, because then you've got cover for Sean Darcy, and you've got cover for a midfielder that we've laid out without having to burn a trade later on in the week. Later on in the round. Anyway, massive explanation to my thoughts about it. I just wanted to explain why I did the stupid trade off Bruce. Logically, it did make sense, and that's a wrap. Sorry for ranting. But sometimes team reviews do go longer than what you expect, and mate, there's some videos that go there for 30 to 50 minutes. So hopefully you enjoyed this one. If you've got any trade plans or trades left, let me know what you're doing. Let me know how you scored, what you ranked. And yeah, I'd love to hear from you. Hopefully you guys had a good weekend. Go Tigers, and I'll catch you on the next vid.